Welcome to the Yankee and Canuck podcast, Best Picture Series, where we talk about all the Academy Award Best Pictures, past to present.
And I'm your host, a Yankee.
And I'm your host, a Canuck.
And today we're going to be talking about Rebecca, 1940s picture, the 13th movie to win Best Picture, actually. This is Alfred Hitchcock's first Hollywood production, and it actually is his only, as far as I'm aware, Academy Award-winning film for Best Picture. And curiously enough, on this Academy Awards, even though this movie won Best Picture, it only won one other award, which is Best Cinematography. The Best Director award actually went to John Ford for Grapes of Wrath.
That's right.
Yeah, which is interesting because if you win Best Picture, I mean, you would assume that the director would win Best Director, right?
Most of the time that is the case, yeah.
That's kind of weird. I mean, what makes it that you win Best Director for this, but not Best Picture for that, and vice versa? I don't understand.
It might be just because he just came across the pond and made his first Hollywood production, and so they're like, no, we can't give it to him. No.
No, little fat British man. No, maybe next time, which you would never, ever get.
But yeah, the film was nominated for 11 Oscars, and like Yankee said, Best Picture and Best Cinematography.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird that it's the only Hitchcock film that's achieved this, and it's not even one of his best movies.
Yeah, you're telling me, man. You know, Hitchcock in particular has a long, storied, esteemed filmography if you look at it. I mean, the man did Psycho. He did North by Northwest. He did
Rear
on
a Train, Vertigo.
Rear Window, which is my favorite one. That's like the best one he's done, in my opinion. The Man Who Knew Too Much, twice over, as a matter of fact. I saw the one with Jimmy Stewart, and that one's really good.
Yep.
But somehow this is the only one that won Best Picture, and I'm kind of flabbergasted. I read the book first, obviously, as I tend to do with these things, and I'm going to get into that later. And then eventually I saw this film, and by the end of this thing, I was like, what did I just watch? What is this? And I decided to actually watch, there's a long list of Best Picture nominees. I went ahead and decided to watch Grapes of Wrath and The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin. I'm just gonna say it right now. Those two films are way better than this one, and by themselves, they're okay. They're not, they're not films that I would personally really like on their own. But compared to this film, either one would have been better suited to win Best Picture
that year. Yeah, I think the Philadelphia Story was that year as well, with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. I think.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't
there
seen
were a lot of other big movies nominated as well. So
yeah, that one's an esteemed picture as well. That's a picture that people tend to remember also. That's another romantic comedy movie, I think. But but I don't know. I am at a loss for words because, like, in the last episode we did, I was saying, like, oh, I can't wait to see this one. This is Hitchcock. This could be pretty good. I've seen all the stuff that we've previously mentioned and Rope and all that stuff. I was like, Hitchcock tends to be good, at least the ones I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, well, let me read this book first. And my God, the book itself is a really popular book. I want to make mention of that. All the books I've read so far, have their fan base. People like Rebecca a lot. It's not considered a romance, even though it's sometimes touted as one. It's really a gothic thriller, gothic murder mystery, crime drama, whatever you want to call it. So it's really about this woman named Rebecca, and she just dies. And her husband, Maximilian, is distraught over that. And in the middle of him, moping around about this, he meets the narrator of the book, who we don't know the name of. She's just known as the second Mrs. De Winter, because that's the dude's last name. So
that's her name in the movie.
Yeah, so they both hit it off, and she's taken to his estate, Manderley. And the help in Manderley don't like her at all, because they love Rebecca and all that stuff, especially Mrs. Danvers, who's the chief villain in this whole thing. So the whole thing is about the main character being imbrued with the sense of mystery and suspense as to who's Rebecca? Why is she hanging over my head? What is this all about? And at the end of the whole affair, you find out who Rebecca is, what happened to her, and why she's so important.
Yep.
It make it sound more interesting than it actually is. Because it's not interesting. This book sucks. I hated it. It's horribly written. I went from Gone with the Wind to this piece of shit. I hated it. I was just like, I really dislike the characters. I'm like, is this me? Is it me? Am I just not getting it? But I looked it up. A lot of people tend to have the same opinion too. There are fans, I make that clear, but there are a lot of detractors, which I am a part of, The characters are one-dimensional. The plot is extremely thin. The most I got out of this book was that the characters like to eat their fancy little breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. They like drinking a lot of coffee, a lot of tea. The word manderly is said like an ungodly told amount of times. So I'm like, okay, I get it. That you love the damn mansion. Stop mentioning it. And of course, Rebecca.
It's one of the biggest estates in Cornwall or something like that, somewhere in England.
I guess. I don't know. And then Rebecca, of course, the namesake of the book. It's just like, oh, Rebecca this, Rebecca that. We love Rebecca. She was this, she was that, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, the gimmick of the novel is that you never actually see Rebecca. She's only mentioned in passing. And the same can be said of the movie itself. So...
Yeah, you don't see her, but she's there.
She's there. So, I mean, I get the point of the story, but at the same time, it's not interesting. And all the way to the very end, where there is a plot twist involved, which we're going to get into. But it's just like, I remember watching, I read this thing, and then I watched the thing, and I'm like, who cares, man? This is stupid. I'm sure this thing shocked people when this thing was released back in the day, but come on, man. This is like the weakest Hitchcockian plot twist, even though he didn't write it, but still, I mean, like, this is the weakest that he has ever done on celluloid. So, I mean, like, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's definitely not one of my favorite Hitchcock films. I don't think it's bad or anything. It's just, it's not what I expected, so...
I'm going to say right now, there's a lot bad. I don't know what good you see in this. This is just terrible. The only thing that I like...
the production is decent. I like the sets, and performances are okay, and obviously there's... it's not the best. Like, it's not the best you've seen of Laurence Olivier, and it's not the...
I mean, he was terrible in this.
But, yeah.
I mean, the only character I like was Joan Fontaine, but only because, like, oh, she's pretty. But that's it.
Yeah.
And she's apparently the sister of Olivia de Havilland.
Right,
and
correct. Yeah.
Interesting fact about them is that they hated
rivals,
each other.
right?
Yeah, they were big-time rivals. As a matter of fact, I think Joan tried to kill her when they were young.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
This is according to some Time article I was reading. I was like, that's interesting. And both actually lived incredibly long lives, Joan lived to be 93, I think. Olivia de Havilland famously lived to be 104. She died only, as of this recording, 5 years ago.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? Yeah. But
that's incredible.
But anyway, I mean, no one else impressed me in this film.
I thought the actress who played Mrs. Danvers was fine. The character itself, I thought, is it works well in the story as just as a villain. Honestly, might even be in a top 100 villains in film type of thing. I could see.
What rank is that? 100?
Maybe, yeah. Might have to make it 150, top 150. But it's on the list somewhere, I'm sure. But
I guess.
It's memorable. It is a memorable character, I think.
We're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. Because first of all, let's just start with the main guy character, Maximilian de Winter, I think, the Laurence Olivier character. He's written just the same as he's portrayed in the movie. He's a bitch. He's just a whiny, mopey little bitch who's just like, oh, I'm Rebecca. And then he meets the main character. He's like, oh, Rebecca. And it keeps this charade going. He's just whiny. He's petulant. He's not, he's not satisfied with anything that the main character does for him. And it just made me go like, what does this lady see in this dude? Is he just, because he's rich? Is that it? I mean, because I can't see any other reason why anyone would stand to put up with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, even in the beginning of the film, when they're in, I think, Monte Carlo, and everything just moves super fast. He's there, then she's going to be leaving with her employer, and then he's like, no, don't leave, just marry me. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
That's it. That's literally it.
She spends a hell of a lot of time fighting this dude in the hotel, and then finally finds him. He's like, you know what we should do? We should get married. I'm like, okay. Yeah, and then finally we get to the mansion, Manderley, which in the book, like I mentioned, is said so many times. I'm like, stop mentioning the damn estate's name. I hate this.
Yeah.
And she gets into the whole estate, and she's treated like royalty, and she walks in the garden. And in the book, they explain how lavish the garden is. It's filled with all these plants and flowers and whatever. And she's living the life, but of course, Mrs. Danvers hangs over her head. Oh, you're not like Rebecca. Rebecca was special. In the movie,
I love Rebecca.
I love Rebecca. Yeah, because apparently in the book, it's implied that she did actually love her in that kind of way. But In the book too, Rebecca is said to probably be bisexual, which obviously is not mentioned at all in the movie.
No, I don't. It's just there's a maybe a little bit of an implication or subtext of a romantic element to it, but I think mostly with Danvers, it's just like an intense devotion.
Yeah. I mean, because in the book, it's made more mention that she raised her since she was a kid. So
Well,
that
okay, the film isn't like that at all.
no, you just know that she's just like, ah, Rebecca. I love Rebecca. For
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't for reasons we don't really truly understand. But in the book, there's obviously more detail towards that, and you're like, okay, I can kind of get it. You have a weird relationship with this woman, but it's just like it is what it is, and that's her whole
yeah,
deal. She just doesn't like the main character.
yeah.
Uh,
She's just trying to intimidate her, and she's very like kind of
Standoffish.
formidable and kind of she's attacking Mrs. Winters too. I'm gonna call her Mrs. Winters too, number two or whatever. And Joan Fontaine's character, basically she thinks she's like low class trash and a gold digger, and why
Yeah,
is she here? She doesn't belong to be here,
pretty much.
and all that. So she's just rude right off the start, and
At one point in the
really
film
awful.
too, like they're constantly balls or dances or some sort of get-togethers where there's like a ball that happens, a costume ball. And
Yeah,
then that's when Mrs. Danvers is like, "Oh, look at this portrait. See that dress? Well, maybe you should dress up like this. This is like one of the relatives." And then, of course, Mrs. De Winters is like, "Yeah, that's a good idea." Gets the exact
yeah.
same dress, goes down, and of course, her husband Max is like, "What are you doing? Take it off!" Ah, because apparently Rebecca wore that dress at one point. So
It's the last dress I think she wore, I believe.
was it? Yeah. So it
Yeah, it
tricked.
was the last dress she wore. So Mrs.
So
Danvers completely tricked her, and
yeah, just sabotaged her whole thing, and then he
so messed up,
completely
man.
triggered Max. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Ah!
messed up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parts where Mrs. Danvers, you see how twisted and vile she is, and
Yeah. I mean, she's just like, making it very clear, I don't like your ass. So I'm like, okay.
yeah. Well, she does a whole bunch of things to make her feel worse and worse, and break her down a little by little, and then eventually she's like, "Why don't you jump out this window?" And she opens up the window, and it's all like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, that's in the book too, where she's just like, you
Jeez,
know what? You should jump. And I was like,
crazy.
what is this? What am I reading? It's just
It's
like
insane.
the book
She,
is
you
just
know
so
what? She
awkward.
should have grabbed Mrs. Danvers and shoved her out.
I
Bitch.
I guess, but it's made mention too in the book, and I think the movie where it's just like, oh, no one likes me, maybe I should jump. Yeah. But then she snaps out of it because there's a canyon that fires or something because there's some sort of a thing happening in the sea, like a ship or something. I
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah, the ship crash. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Which is a big part of the connects to the twist at the end of
of the book,
Rebecca.
which we might as well get into because a whole lot of nothing happens until this part. So evidently, we find out at the end of the book that Max is so broken up by Rebecca is because apparently Rebecca, even though she's well respected and people liked her a lot, she's really affable and friendly, and oh, she's delightful, and she does all kinds of stuff. I guess it turns out she's like a vile bitch behind the scenes, and she doesn't like anyone, and she tricks people into doing things, and she thinks it's all a game. It all culminates to her confronting Max, being like, ah, la, 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 la. I never liked you. La, 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 la. As a matter of fact, I'm pregnant with some other dude's baby, which I think is implied
It's
to be her
her
cousin or
cousin, I
something.
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
then in the movie, he gets all like bothered by her that he shoves her and then she falls and breaks her neck or something.
Yeah, I mean they got into an argument and she died, fell and I think her neck or she hit her head and
Yeah.
so.
In the book, he just straight up shoots her.
Oh, man. Oh, shit.
It's
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
more
that's not
graphic.
in the movie.
Oh no. Well, the reason why is because the Hays Code. You couldn't kill a pregnant woman or an alleged pregnant
Oh,
woman.
right, right.
We're gonna get
Yes.
into that, but you can't shoot a pregnant woman on purpose on screen or otherwise. So Hitchcock decided, well, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is going to make it look like an accident. So that way we can kind of make that happen and move along with the movie.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's no indication that he actually even shoved her or anything. We just know that she slipped, she fell, she hit her head, and she died. So
Yeah, exactly.
during this heated argument, so that's all we really know. And then we know what he did afterwards. So, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly. So, I mean, he makes that big confession. And in the movie, it's like this long, unnecessarily droning like confession, and it's incredibly boring. Like I
At
get
the
it,
end, yeah.
I
At
get
the
it
very end.
that you can't show Rebecca. I understand the artistic reason as to not to do that at all. But then you get the thing where you see Laurence Olivier being Laurence Olivier. He's just being overly melodramatic, and he's just like, oh, then Rebecca did this, and then she did that, and blah 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 blah. And then at one point you cut to like an empty ass, couch, and then the camera pans up, and then it pans left, and it's supposed to follow the course of events that happens as he's narrating them. I just couldn't help but just sitting there and just being like, oh my god, just can we get this over with? It just went on for
Yeah.
way too long. And finally, after his little confession, then you realize, like, oh, this is why he's being a bitch. He was coaxed into killing her, or coaxed into doing something that led to her death, and he feels guilty about it and whatever. And in the very beginning of the film, he looks over a ledge, ostensibly because he wanted to jump. But of course, Mrs.
Yeah.
De Winter, the future Mrs. De Winter, stops him.
Yeah, that's the opening in the opening of the film.
In my opinion, he should have jumped, and that could have been the end of the film, and then we could have washed our hands clean with this and never seen this. But I digress. We unfortunately have to sit through more of this. But
You
yeah,
ever see that 5-minute Hitchcock film called Rebecca?
yeah, where the dude just jumps. It's like, what a twist! You were expecting a full-length feature film, but instead it's 5 minutes. Ha ha!
Yeah.
Good show,
But is
sir.
But we end up finding out that she wasn't, right? She wasn't pregnant, or that's what the doctor said.
Yeah,
She's terminally ill, and so it was all a plan to set him up, max him, and to destroy him and whatnot. And
yeah, just
so
accelerate her demise.
yeah, and then he at the end ultimately returns back to Manderley, and it's been set on fire by Mrs. Danvers.
Yeah, and with her incited in the movie, the same
Yeah.
happens in the book too. It's set ablaze, but it's implied that Mrs. Danvers did it, but you don't actually know. And there's no like this dramatic shot of her like going ah ha ha ha, she's burning alive, and piles of wood come falling on her. It's
Right.
very dramatic Hollywood fashion. They needed a more of a banger of an ending, I suppose, and I have to admit it is a banger of an ending. But
It is, yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's abrupt though. It's very abrupt, and
yeah,
the
but
whole
that's how the book ends.
Yeah.
It's abrupt. It's just
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's
even after the twist, you don't get to. Should have let the twist kind of sink in a little bit more if you did a little bit earlier, because then it abruptly ends. And I don't know, something about how it concluded didn't seem right to me. I don't know, there was something a little off about it. But
Yeah, I mean, and even then, like prior to that too, after the whole big reveal, there's an investigation done because they found the boat or something, and they found
right,
like the circumstances around Rebecca's death are a little fishy. So the
Yeah, he's-
cousin
yeah,
ends up, intervening in this whole affair. At first, Max is acquitted, but then Rebecca's cousin, comes in and is just like, well, she gave me this letter and she wanted me to see her, and how could that be if she was going to kill herself, whatever. So nothing added up. They look into it again, and he tries to extort Max at some point or whatever, but that whole thing happens, and then you get into the Manderley burning down situation. So all these events happen, but does it feel abrupt? Yes, I agree also with that, because I don't know. Ultimately, what's the point of this film? I just want to ask that. What was the point of this whole thing?
I don't know. Like, don't be haunted by the past. Ooh, the past.
I guess.
But I don't know. Don't cling to the past too much. I don't know, because you might burn your house down and die.
Get
Yes.
insurance.
Yeah, home insurance.
Make sure you get house insurance, so that way you can prevent
I mean,
this from happening.
it's definitely a time element. Like, even with Mrs. Winter #2, she's trying to be in the present during the movie, right, and create a future. But the past is all encompassing in that mansion, right? It surrounds everyone and everything.
Mhm.
Rebecca. You can hear Rebecca. You can't really hear her, but in the hallways, Rebecca. But
Mhm.
they had Rebecca on the or letter R on everything, right? Pillowcases,
Oh yeah,
napkins.
exactly.
I heard, excuse me, I even heard that the toilet paper was branded with the letter R. So remember her at all times. All right.
So
They
you
had a
wipe
R,
and then you look at your stained toilet paper
you're like,
sheet and you're like,
Rebecca.
Rebecca, no!
They had a R instead of a bat signal on the roof, they had an R signal. I don't know. I'm making some of this up, but a lot of it is true. There is branding everywhere.
Yeah,
So,
that part is true, like on the sheets and whatnot. So
But,
yeah, I mean, but like even there's pointless little things in the film itself. One thing that I noticed is that at one point, as Mrs. De Winter's looking through, on the desk through
Right.
stuff, she accidentally like tips over a Cupid statue, and then she's all freaked out because no one likes her at this point, and she's just like, I'm gonna put this in the drawer, and then closes it. And then later on in the film, they're like, where's the Cupid statue? That was a gift given to me by Rebecca, I think, or something. And they're like, oh my God, we must find out where the statue is. And then immediately Mrs. De Winter's like, I did it. It was me. And they're like, oh, well, why didn't you say so? Let's go ahead and rectify the situation. And then the situation rectified. And I'm like, what was the whole point of that sequence? There was like literally no point to that sequence. Like, I could see why that could have potentially led to something. Oh, she breaks something. It's something very precious, something very priceless. And she does not say anything. And it could lead to a thing where they're like, it leads everyone to distrust her even more. But then she mentions it. She admits to it like immediately. And then it's resolved. And I'm like, what? You might as well not have that scene at all. It just like, it felt like unnecessary padding to make the movie longer.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it happens relatively early in Manderley. Once they leave Monte Carlo, get to Manderley, and then I think what they're trying to show is how uncomfortable she is there. It's a new place, and she's not feeling very welcome. That's why. I mean, it's her house now. Like, she lives there. So you accidentally broke something. Accidents happen. Like hiding it. Like what?
I get that, but like it just
like a 10-year-old hiding something.
I get that, but it's
get in trouble.
But it's like resolved immediately. That's my point of contention. Right, it's just like, where's the drama afterwards? And then we're back to being like, okay, they're talking about Rebecca again. Okay, they're planning a little ball. Okay, they're doing this. It just drones on and on and on and on and on. And I'm just like, I can't. I really can't.
Yeah.
And it just happens a lot. It just makes me think like, okay, I could see the potential of the overall idea. The idea has potential, but right. I feel like in order for this idea to have more potential is that you had to have more secrecy done. You had to have more dastardly things done, in my opinion, where you feel like the main character's in danger. Because at first I thought it was going to be like a thing where it's just like, oh, the plot twist turns out she's not the only Mrs. De Winter. Rebecca was the first of many or something like that, or Rebecca did something more evil and everyone's trying to cover it up because it would put the whole house at shame and stuff like that. I thought I was going to go towards something around those lines, but it went nowhere at the end of the day. And I'm
I mean, the stakes aren't, super high for her. There's danger at like an emotional level for sure. And then with the exception of the scene where Mrs. Danvers tells her to jump out the window, other than that, there isn't a whole lot of, it's kind of like, you're not welcome here, And,
but that felt like very uneventful anyway. It was just like, hey, I'm going to open the window. I mean, you want to jump off? I think you should. That's what it felt like. It was just like, it's not like she locked the door and then she got a file, she got like a letter opener and she's like, you're gonna jump and we're gonna make it look like an accident or some shit like that. Like that would have been like, okay, this is kind of interesting, but instead it was just like, meh. It just was just very nonchalant, like, meh.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Ultimately, when it comes to this film, I was just like, after Gone with the Wind, especially, to go from that to this, I'm just like, what are we doing here, man? Yeah. So we're back to the bottom of the barrel as far as Best Picture winners are concerned. So,
well, hey, at least there was an awesome dog in the movie, right? That Cocker Spaniel.
Yeah. What was that?
His name was Jasper, I think.
Yeah, Jasper. Yeah. He's in the.
That
book.
Was great.
He was in the
Should have been in more scenes. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, he was a well-behaved dog. More Jasper. Should have been called Jasper. That would have been funny. Like the dog held the key to the murder.
The dog actually broke the statue.
The dog tripped Rebecca and caused her to break her neck.
The dog's actually working for Mrs. Danvers.
Like everything was meant to be left to Jasper upon everyone's death.
Manderley. Master Jasper.
Oh no, that would have been kind of interesting, I guess. But but ultimately, I'm just like, compared to the other Best Picture winners, is this the worst? I don't know if I would call this one the worst. I still think that honor goes to Grand Hotel, because Grand Hotel, virtually nothing happens in that film. At least in Rebecca, there is a germ of an idea here. There is something to work with. There is some twist in it, even if it's not impressive to me. I can see how it could be impressive to people back in the day. There is stuff here. I'm just like, there's not a whole lot of there at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, I think the movie was all right. Like I said earlier, it's far from one of my favorite Hitchcock films. Far from it. I wouldn't even probably put it in my top 10. I don't think.
Oh, this is my dead last worst Hitchcock film I've ever seen in my life.
And I've probably seen 15 of his films. I can probably name at least a dozen I've seen.
Yeah.
Um, especially as especially everything he's done in the 50s and some 60s and yeah. So I mean, either way, I definitely wouldn't watch it again. I didn't think it was that bad. There's a couple scenes in it that are okay, and it just doesn't have that what you'd expect from a Hitchcock film. And this, the first one he's done
Yeah.
in the U.S.
An
And
interesting setup for
so,
one.
yeah, it had potential, more potential there, and there's a couple of cool scenes, and there's some of the scenes are nice, and sequences like the movie within a movie scene, the film reel when they're showing their honeymoon. That was
Yeah.
kind of interesting to see. It was kind of cool, and
At that point, I was like, oh, they've been married for a while, I guess. So that's why they're showing us this. Okay. Yeah.
that's the only thing that would indicate that. Otherwise, it's like been like a week, a day.
I don't know. I don't know how long they've been married for, frankly, and I don't care.
Uh,
They should have all been in the building when it burned. The dog should have burned them all down. He rides on the
no.
boat and he's like laughing. Now all the estate, all the money is mine. That would have been awesome. That would have been a great Hitchcockian twist.
Yeah.
The dog did it.
The dog did it. Yeah. Well, there was a river behind Mandalay, so he just goes into a boat.
Oh, imagine it. They think that the
It's
dog
not
is
the
like
river.
they think the dog's a boy, but it's actually a girl, and the dog was called Rebecca. That would have been. Oh, that would have been so good. That would have been so good.
Rebecca the dog.
Oh, that
Oh,
I would have
man.
been like, okay, this film's goofy, but that is unforgettable.
Yeah,
Instead, we have something that's
Yeah, I'm
completely
for it.
forgettable. So,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
as far as ratings are concerned, what would you
Uh,
give it?
I'm actually going to give it a 6 out of 10. You're probably in shock.
I'm just waiting to hear why.
But it was actually okay. I mean, it's not a great movie. It's not a bad film. I thought the acting was all right. The production, all that. I think, yeah, I think, I'll give it a 6. I mean, it's a little generous, 5.5 maybe, but I think the film itself, a lot of it I liked. The story was problematic though at times, and like I said, with the twist and things like that, they could have done it earlier. Didn't have to end that way, just like that. And I think there was a lot of issues with the film, but I didn't think it was a terrible film.
Well, conversely, I think it's a terrible film. I give it a 3 out of 10. Joan Fontaine.
3.
Yes, because Joan Fontaine, she was a
Oh,
pleasure
wow.
to look at. She was beautiful. She did
Without
well.
a doubt, yeah.
She did well with the role she was given. Everything else sucked. I hated it. I hated the book. I hated this movie. I never want to see or hear from this ever again in my life. Is it as worse as Grand Hotel? No. I mean, I'd rather shove my head through a blender than watch Grand Hotel again. At least I could watch Rebecca again willingly.
Yeah.
So, but even then, I give it maybe a notch or two above that film. So, but so far, the bottom tier list of Best Picture winners.
That's fair.
All right. So, with that said, guys, we'll be seeing you for the next picture.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys. Peace out.